Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the ex jealousy trigger test. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing the ex jealousy trigger test. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you might think that they no longer care. But what if they still got jealous? In the last few months, some of my audio coaching clients have tested their ex's jealousy with fascinating results. In today's podcast, I'm discussing 3 tests that my clients did on their dumpers and what the results were. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is version 2.0. So over the last few months, I've suggested to a number of my audio coaching clients that they live their best life. Now, it's probably not a surprise for you listening, because it's something that I speak about in podcasts as well. Of course, through my audio coaching service, we can really get into the specifics and the unique situation that you as a dumpy, as an individual, should really be focusing on. But to look at it in a generalised sense and just to protect the identity of everyone involved, we're just going to refer to it as they were showcasing their best selves on social media. Okay? So the clients that I suggested it to would all be doing somewhat different things, but the main focal point is that they are growing as a person. They are improving. They're living their best life. This is something that their ex-dumper would have been surprised about, so to speak, if they'd still been in a relationship and their now dumpy had started doing A, B, or C. This isn't something that they would necessarily have predicted. And that is what I was suggesting to my clients over this time period. Now, we're focusing on this time period because there was 2 very interesting scenarios that played out. I had 2 audio coaching clients that within 4 months of them applying these suggestions that I made, received contact from their ex-dumper. And what made this even more special is that in both instances, their dumpers specifically mentioned that they were reaching out due to what they'd seen on socials. And that is what is really important to emphasize here, because your ex-dumper might come into contact with you due to behaviors you have showcased, but they might not necessarily mention that. They might have been triggered. They may have felt jealous. They may have had a whole manner of thoughts and feelings about specific things you did, but if and when they come back to you, they might not actually say it. It's not the way that it always plays out. In fact, a lot of the time, it isn't at all. So that is what made this very interesting to me, that in the space of 4 months, I had not 1 but 2 audio coaching clients who had dumpers that came back to them and actually specifically stated that they did so due to what they'd seen on social media, as in the growth and the improvements that both of these people had made. Now, not only did both of these dumpers reach out due to that reason, one of them made it abundantly clear because they actually commented on one of the posts that had been uploaded. So we had a very clear indication in one instance that they were being drawn in to something that the dumpy was posting about. And for you wondering what it might be, and like I said, I'm going to protect the privacy of everybody involved here and be a little bit mysterious on the specifics so nobody listening can figure it out in case anybody is listening, if you know what I mean. So you just need to know that it is living your life in a way that your ex-dumper would be surprised at in a positive sense. Don't surprise them in a negative way. That's not going to help. You need to be surprising them by doing something positive, something that they wouldn't expect, something that maybe they would like you to have done and you never actually did. Or alternatively, it can be even more powerful if you're doing things that have never been suggested, thought of, or spoke of in any regard, whether it's something that they said they wanted you to do or something that you said you would do and hadn't, but now you have. Sometimes it's even more powerful if it is brand new, something which is really going to shock your ex-dumper, but you're actually taking part in doing or achieving. So in this test, if that's what we're going to call it, when we consider today's podcast, the ex-jealousy trigger test, both of these people who got their ex-dumper to contact them and then reconnect beyond that, it wasn't just because, yes, I've achieved something and the dumper is reaching out and saying, congratulations. No, there was a level of jealousy involved because both situations led their dumpers to believe that they were about to move up the pecking order, you might even say, within their life, move up that social pecking order, move up to bigger and better things. The jealousy was obvious within the messages. Now, I'm going to protect everyone's privacy, as I've stated numerous times already, so you will have to read between the lines here. But what we are saying here is it wasn't just a simple, oh, well done. There was a level of thinking, wait a minute, if I don't reach out to my dumpee right now, they might find someone better than myself, because where they are going in their life, well, they're going to end up leaving me behind. They are clearly a version 2.0 of themselves, whereas I am being left exactly where I was. And dumpees, if they put in the hard work, can outgrow their dumper. It happens time and time again. And the amount of dumpees who actually say thanks but no thanks to their dumper if and when they hear contact from them, it might surprise you. You might be thinking, well, I would never turn my dumper down. Well, live your best life, become a version 2.0, become a better person today than you were yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today. Live your life like that, you will attract a lot more people. And if you do, you might find someone, to your shock, to your amazement, who is better than your dumper. And if your dumper then comes back to you, you might be one of those that says thanks, but no thanks. It happens more often than you think, even if you don't believe you ever would. It does happen. In these instances, the two people I'm speaking about, they actually welcomed their dumpers back because that is what they wanted to do. But it was clear as day from the improvements they were making, they were going to attract more and more different people. The dumpers felt jealous. They reached out, they reconnected, and we have some very happy reconnections there. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please give this video a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is the unknown person. So today we're speaking about the ex-jealousy trigger test. We're speaking about some of my audio coaching clients who triggered their ex-dumper's jealousy and the results which followed. This particular dumpee that followed this suggestion posted on social media a photo of them with someone that their ex-dumper didn't know, didn't recognise, wasn't aware of. Now, what is interesting here is that the dumpee and the dumper were no longer connected on social media. It's not like in the first point today where there were some social media connections still in place. No, in point number 2, the social media connection between dumper and dumpee had been severed. There was no connection, and hence, when the dumpee posted this photo of themselves with someone else, there was no real guarantee that the dumper would actually see it. My gut feeling was that they would, and the dumpee, well, they wasn't so sure, but they went along with it anyway. Now, the photo that this person had with someone else, as I've already referenced, was not known to the dumper. This was a new friend that the dumpee had made. Now, this friend was of the sex that the dumper was. So what this would mean is that if the dumper was to see the photo, they would see their dumpee with a potential new dating option. They wouldn't know by the photo. My suggestion was to post the photo in a way so it was somewhat unclear. Is this a friend? Is this a love interest? Is it a date? Is it a work colleague? You just wouldn't know. And this is where we let things play out. And to The amazement of the dumpee, and I'll be honest, a little bit of a surprise to myself as well, the dumper made direct contact to the dumpee very soon after. We're talking days, okay? So this even shocked me. I never say never. Whether it's about reconnecting after a few days or weeks, or whether it is reconnecting after decades. Those are two differing extremes on the scale. The average amount of time that I see a reconnection take place is around 6 to 12 months post-breakup. But that's the average. It doesn't mean it can't happen in other ways. It just means from my experience it's less likely. It's less likely you will get your ex back after 2 weeks. It is less likely you will get your ex back after 10 years. But it does sometimes happen on both sides of the equation. And in this regard, it was very, very quick. We're talking just a few days after the dumpee posted the photo of them with an unknown person. Well, the dumper reached out to the dumpee via some type of direct message, not connected to the social media, but in a different way, and asked how they were doing, asked what they were doing with their life. Now, the dumpee was very surprised by these questions. They hadn't spoken in quite a while. Clearly, the dumper had been rocked by seeing this photo. We still don't know exactly how they saw it, because this has never been made clear. But what was made clear is the dumper, after a few lines of conversation, actually asked the question, are you single right now? This, again, is not typical. I'm not trying to get all of your hopes up dumpees, because dumpers very rarely are as direct as that, and it's very rare that they react as quickly to things like this. Normally, you can set the wheels in motion, and something might come of something later down the line, okay? As I said at the very beginning, maybe you get your ex back a number of months later, and you have no idea about what initially triggered them. You might never find that out precisely, but occasionally you do. And when a dumper reaches out a mere days after this unknown person was seen in a photo next to the dumpee, and within a few back and forth texts is literally asking, are you single? What they are actually meaning is, are you in a relationship with that person that I know you had a photo with? So what we can see here is another jealousy trigger point from the perspective of the dumper. And you might think, well, why are they jealous? They dumped me. They do not care. But it actually isn't the case. A lot of dumpers are jealous. A lot of dumpers will feel that pull towards you. I'm not talking about behaving in a way which is causing almost dangerous levels of jealousy. I'm just talking about living your life for you. And if they feel jealous as a byproduct of you going on social media, showcasing your best life, or going on social media and posting a photo with you and someone else, if they're going to get triggered by you living your normal life, well, that's not your problem. And you can also reap the benefits. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is hints to mutual friends. So today we're speaking about whether or not you can trigger the jealousy levels in your ex-dumper. And this additional test that we're going to be speaking about today is when a dumpee was speaking to their mutual friends which they shared with their dumper about their life. And they were speaking about themselves in a positive way, but also in a way which was slightly confusing as to what they were doing with their life dating-wise. Now, what I mean by that is the dumpee would almost passively mention that they're considering going online dating. The dumpee would passively mention that they are going out at some point on some night, but not really saying exactly who with or what they're doing, just being kind of vague. Now, the mutual friends in the initial conversations about this type of topic did not really bite on what was being said. They didn't seem overly bothered, okay? They may have just said along the lines of, okay, it's good to know that you're kind of getting back out there or whatever, but they were just not really delving into what was being actually told to them. Now, this is really, really important because less than a week later, the mutual friends were speaking to the dumpee once more, but asking more specific questions. Oh, so have you joined online dating? And when you said you were going out on that night, who were you meeting? Have you been on any dates yet? They were all of a sudden asking very specific questions, whereas originally it was as if they didn't care. Originally, it was almost like, oh yeah, well done, I'm glad for you, but not really bothered, not really seeking the detail, didn't really care, not really bothered. So what does this mean? Well, the likelihood is that they have passed this information on to the dumper, which is what they generally do. Always remember, if you speak with mutual friends, even if they say, I won't tell your ex anything, they will, okay? You can't believe that they won't. So imagine that your ex, the dumper, is standing behind your mutual friends. Whatever you say to them will get back to them. And in this instance, I'm convinced that's what's happened. The dumper has found out this information and they've started to get jealous. So then what they've done is they've said to their mutual friends, hey, when you speak to the dumpee again, I want you to ask this, this and this. Find this out on my behalf. It's just bizarre how the mutual friends didn't really care originally, but the next time they saw the dumpee, all of a sudden they wanted to know all of the details. Why was it? It's because, in my opinion, it's coming from the dumper. It's because they're jealous. And I would imagine we will get to the point where the dumper makes direct contact to the dumpee. As of this podcast being recorded, that hasn't happened yet. Okay? I can't give you a happy ever after story for point number 3 yet, although I do believe it's probably going to get to the stage where at least we have a conversation. The dumper is definitely triggered. The dumper is definitely jealous. The dumper is definitely asking the mutual friends to pose questions and find out info. Whether or not it goes beyond that, we will have to wait and see. But what this proves across everything today is that as a dumpee, you can trigger your ex, the dumper's jealousy.